Hello AP. Our last topic in chapter 2 is a topic that you probably did not see last year in CP or honors, and it's called organic compounds. Now, organic compounds is not heavily tested anymore on AP, but you do have to know what's called the 10 basic alkane names. Okay, so majority of it got cut back in the day, which is a good thing, but we still got to know a little bit about something. It's probably about the only chapter where we talk about organic, but you will see some of these 10 magical molecules pop up in other chapters. You have to remember how to name them and write the formula. So with our organic compound, it's a study of everything to do with carbon, okay? And hopefully next year you guys will want to expand your chemistry knowledge in that third class called organic chemistry. Organic chemistry is usually a college you take as a sophomore in college, and we're very lucky that I get to teach this course at FOHI. So organic compounds have carbon in it and usually some amount of hydrogen, and if there's another element thrown in there too, it can happen. So we like to call certain type of organic compounds called alkanes. And check out this ending of A-N-E. This is going to be very important when we get to the spelling. So A-N-Es is because in A-N-E, there's what's called all single bonds. And when we draw these, like I said in chapter 8 and 9, it's going to mean a lot to you. And it's going to be like, oh, like those things in chapter 2. And I'll be like, yep, remember those things in chapter 2. So compounds containing carbon and only hydrogen, these are called hydrocarbons, okay? Now, alkane has a carbon that's bonded to 4 other atoms. And like I said, the ending of these names have A and E at the end. That's it. That's the ending of every name in these 10. Now, they have a cool little formula to go with it. So if you know how many carbons you have, you can figure out how many hydrogens you have. So here's the little formula. For however many carbons you have, to find the hydrogen is you take 2 times that number and then add 2. So notice right here for carbon, if you have 6 carbons, then for hydrogen, you take 2 times that 6 and then you add 2. So that's why you get 14. Okay? So C6H14. So when you name these, okay, we're going to name the names right here. The carbons, okay, start the name. So however many carbons you have will dictate basically the beginning of the name, because you already know the ending of them all have A and E. So we're going to write the names and we're going to figure out the formulas too. So if it has 1 carbon, okay, the hydrogen would be 1 times 2 plus 2. So that's 4. So CH4 is called methane. Okay. So it's called methane. So CH4, METHANE. And you've seen methane before because it's the gas we use when we use Bunsen burners. It's also the gas that's in your house when it goes to the stove. Okay. Or maybe your dryer. If it's gas type of dryer, it's also methane. Okay. C2. So for the hydrogens, you'd go 2 times 2 plus 2. So C2H6. And the beginning of this is called ethane. Okay, so ethane. Ethane is a gas that if it was pretty much, it's a type of molecule that when you add some oxygen to it, it's found in like those drinks that are over 21 type of drinks, if you get my hint. But he is a very popular, obviously, molecule in those type of solutions. Okay, if I said that well enough. C3, and then it goes H8. So 3 times 2 plus 2 gives me 8 hydrogens, and this is called propane. Okay, so propane. And in the propane, propane would be if you ever barbecue, that white tank that's in the barbecue. You go to the gas station, you get propane. Okay. 4, C4H10, because you take 2 times 4 plus 2. So then you get butane. And if you've ever seen like a lighter, that liquid fuel that's in that lighter, that's called butane. Once you get to here, to the end, they're all geometry names. It's kind of like the prefixes. So once you go from C5 all the way to C10, remember from chapter 2.8, those prefixes. The penta, the hexa, the octa, it's all those names. It's 1 through 4 that always trips students up. Okay, so we got to know these. So C5, H12. That's called pentane. And C6, H14 is hexane. And C7, H16 is called heptane. Okay, so remember it came from hepta, so heptane. And then one you probably have heard of before, octane. Now octane is a molecule. Gasoline is a solution, because in gasoline, when you go to the gas station and get gas, it has a mixture of some of this stuff in it. Okay, so that's why they call it hydrocarbons. Octane's in it, decane's in it. There's a couple others of these in it. It just depends on where you get your gasoline from. They have different type of hydrocarbons. But octane is a molecule. Gasoline is a solution because it's a mixture. C9, H20 is nonane. Okay, so N-O-N-A-N-E. And then just like 10 years is a decade, then you got decane. Do you see what happens to the hydrogens? Look at all the hydrogens from the beginning to the end as I'm finishing here. When you add a carbon, the hydrogen just changes by 2. Add another carbon, changes by 2, so forth, so forth. So that's why it has this formula. Whatever carbon times 2, add 2. Okay? The last part of this chapter, okay, because you will see some of these. These things called functional groups. So what a functional group is if you take off one of these hydrogens and maybe put another atom on it, like oxygen, or put like another group on it, maybe nitrogen, maybe some sulfur. So a functional group is when you take a hydrogen off and add a different element on besides carbon or hydrogen. So one very important group that we do in AP is called alcohols. Okay? So what an alcohol is, it replaces one hydrogen and you add an OH, which basically is hydroxide. So if I take CH4 and if I take one hydrogen off and add OH, okay, well the name also changes too, because this was methane, and what we do is we take this E off and we add a new ending called OL, methanol. Okay, so that's why I said the 2-carbon one is very famous out there in the over 21 type of crowd, because when you have C2H6, take a hydrogen off and add an OH. Now before you probably asked me in class, hey Rodriguez, why not just add the H's together instead of H5, call it H6? Is because we write it this way to remind ourselves that OH at the end of a hydrocarbon that's attached, hydrocarbon with that OH group, they're called alcohols. Okay, so we want it to still look like the formula is still an alcohol. So we take that ending off to ethane and we call it ethanol. Okay, so ethanol is a molecule that is in normally those over 21 type of substances out there in the world. Okay, let me do one more for you because then I think you got the point. So C3H8 is called propane. Propane. And then if I take a hydrogen off and add OH. Okay? So then instead of propane, I have propanol. Okay? So what a functional group is when you replace a hydrogen and just one hydrogen and add a different group of elements on, or even just one element on. But for the only purposes for AP, we only have to know one functional group, and it's called alcohols. Okay, so hopefully that was easy peasy, but please, ladies and gentlemen, you got to know these 10 names. Okay, so please make sure you study those 10 names. See you on the next one.